to A&O Connect, our Together Journey podcast. We are Andre and
Omeakio
Tucker.
Tucker. Together, we've been on this journey for 30 years, married for 20.
A&O Connect was encouraged and inspired by God and many others to share 30 years of what life has been like for us. We created this podcast because we believe in the power of authentic conversations, the kind that happen behind closed doors, but rarely make it into public discussions about relationships. And there I would like to pause for a moment just to acknowledge someone who's very special to me and my wife. We like to acknowledge Apostle James Lattimore, and we are grateful that in his last days of his journey, that he encouraged us and inspired us to create this platform to share with you all what God has done for us and how we have overcome the obstacles and how we are still together today. And we are grateful for Apostle Lattimore and his wife, Florence Lattimore.
You know, we've noticed something important. Many of the struggles that people face are universal. We often suffer in silence, thinking that we're the only ones experiencing them.
That stops here. On A&O Connect, we're inviting those who are dating, contemplating dating, engaged or married, to join us for honest conversations about past and current situations you may be facing, and to answer questions about everyday life in 2025.
That's right. And after 3 decades, we've learned that real relationships aren't like what you see in the movies or social media. They're complex, they're messy, they're beautiful, and extremely rewarding all at once.
Yes. You know, when we first met, we had no idea what was ahead of us. The laughter, the tears, the challenges, setbacks. But we are grateful we were able to celebrate the small victories as well. And we're here to share with you how we were able to overcome and still overcome today when challenges still arise.
So, what we'll be talking about? We'll be talking about how to navigate financial disagreements, keeping intimacy alive through different seasons of life, healing after betrayal, parenting differences, and so much more.
You can expect honesty, transparency, respect, and a genuine experience with real people. But here's a disclaimer. Some of what you may hear, you may have heard before, but we can only share either what's been revealed or what we have experienced the way we have experienced it. So our hope, mission, and intent is that you will be encouraged the way we have been encouraged and inspired in these 30 years of living life together.
And to start this journey, we thought it would be a little fun to give you a glimpse into our relationship with a fun icebreaker activity.
Before we dive deeper into our podcast journey, we like to play a little game we call Then and Now to give you all a glimpse into our 30-year evolution as a couple.
All right. This is where we each answer questions about how we would have responded at different stages of our relationship. When we first met, when we got married, and now. It's amazing how you can change over 3 decades.
Yes, you can. First question. What's the strength in me that you recognize from the beginning that others may have missed? And how has that strength evolved over the years?
Okay. So when I think about the strength in you, I think about how you're not easily influenced. It's like, I remember the stories you would tell me about how you grew up and people would be doing different things and you would associate yourself with them, but you would never do what they were doing. So when I think about you and just being resilient and standing your ground no matter what, for a person who is in their 50s, who's never drunk, never smoked, never, really got involved in things that people do every day, it just shows that you're not going to be influenced by anything or anyone. You know what's right and wrong, and that's what you're going to stand by. And you continue to stand by that today. I even remember when you stopped cursing when we had children. It just was like a cold turkey. you stopped doing it and you haven't gone back, and that's been almost 30 years. So I would say that is what you continue to show your strength in, the resilience, the standing in who you are, and nobody can change that.
Well, thank you, dear. Well, for me, it was your confidence, um, and I would say it's a young confidence and an older confidence. The young confidence came with a little bit of attitude, a little bit of a rough edge, and it was part of growing, the growing pains, and trying to still figure out yourself and who you were. But you've always been confident. You don't like the word no. If someone tells you no, it's like full speed ahead. I'm going to change that no into a yes, until I get where I need to be and get what I want.
Yeah.
So the resilience, the confidence, and the strength to go through and get through any struggle. That's mine for you.
Okay. All right. All right. So my question is, when in our relationship did you feel most understood by me, and when did you feel least understood?
I felt most understood when we first met, only because I was going through some things that we'll probably share later as we go through the podcast. But you were there to be a friend, someone to have fun with, be competitive with, and never really harped on the issues that I was going through. So even though we didn't ignore them, you were there to just treat me like a person. We did things together. We enjoyed time together. And that was very helpful. The time I felt you understood me the least was shortly after. Relationship began to flourish and feelings started to change.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I became a little hesitant and reserved because I wasn't ready to move a little bit further. Mm-hmm. And you were. And I felt like you were hearing that word no again.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted what you wanted. And I don't know, it caused some other things to take place. So, yeah, so when we first met and when feelings started to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll start with the least first. I think for me, it was during my 20s, my 30s, and a little bit of my 40s. As I was trying to navigate different things, unforgiveness was really something that had me, I would say, in a quicksand. My top half was out, but my bottom half was stuck. Didn't feel like I could move forward. And because you didn't really understand what I was going through from a mental standpoint, I think it frustrated you because you wanted me to talk, but I couldn't really talk because I didn't understand it myself. So how do you have that conversation and be able to explain it to somebody when you don't really understand what you're going through? I was young when we met, right? 20 years old, still trying to figure it out. And, we jumped right into having children after that. So it was, suck it up and just keep pushing forward without really looking at the issue itself. So I would say that. And then where I felt the most understood, it's where we are today. I love that even with my frustration, you'll know when I'm frustrated, even if I don't say nothing, you'd be like, okay, what's wrong? What just happened? And before we wouldn't have been able to talk through it. But now it's like, you're like, no, I want to hear what's going on. You won't let it up. You will definitely push until you find out what's going on with me. Even if it's you take a pause because I don't want to talk about it, you'll come back to it because it's important to you to see what's going on with me, and I appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on. How many more questions do we have?
Got a few more.
A few more questions. Okay. Well, here's an interesting one. If you could relive our first meeting with the wisdom you have now, what would you do or say differently? And what would you make sure stayed exactly the same?
What would I do and say differently? When we met, we were both at a different point in our lives where we had hurt. And I could say I was a little damaged. And you were going through your own struggles. So if I were to go back with the wisdom I have today, I probably wouldn't have gotten into a romantic relationship with you. I wouldn't have pushed that. I felt that, you know, I know he going through that, but he don't know me. I'm the woman that can change him. And a lot of times that's what we as women do when we see someone who may be going through a tough time and we really like that person. We want them to see who we are and know that if you were with me first, that would be different. So we try to change that. We try to change it or change you to let you see us in a different light. And for me, I would have just paused and with the things that you told me, because you were very honest and transparent in the beginning, I would have listened because you told me, hey, don't fall in love with me. You told me, hey, I'm going through some stuff. I'm struggling. But I pushed past that because I pursued you. I wanted what I wanted, and I didn't want to hear no. So, but for me, I think knowing what I know now, I would have given you that space to heal because I think it would have made us it put us in a better place. So that's what I would have done. The friendship I would have kept though, because we were really great friends and still today we're still good friends. So, yeah.
Okay. For me, our first meeting, what would I say or do differently? Along the same lines.
Mm-hmm.
I would be honest about my feelings, and not only be honest with them, but I know I expressed them, but I should have acted accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
I should have stood my ground, and only gone so far, you know, and I would have just taken care of my issues and accepted the friendship we had and let things grow from there. If it was meant to be, it would have happened afterwards.
Yeah.
So I would have enjoyed the friendship, respected that part, and if anything else happened after that, we would have moved forward.
Yeah.
But just to be honest and not move so fast and make sure it was the right time, right place, right person. Yeah, so that's what I would do.
I think that was your intent. I think we just got caught up and we really needed each other that time. And we pushed past the other feelings that was right there. But because the connection was so good, we just felt like, hey, we'll handle that when we handle that. But we're going to press forward and press past what we know we should have done. So, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So I love this question that I'm about to ask now. What's the most valuable wisdom about love that 30 years together has taught you that you wish you could tell your younger self?
Valuable. Mm-hmm. It's a key word, valuable.
Yes.
Okay. It would go back to be honest, be strong, and just take your time. There's no need to rush. When something is genuine and meant to be, it will be. I think sometimes you rush because we think something or someone's going to get away or
Right.
there won't be another moment or opportunity. But I would say be patient, be honest about your feelings, and try to do what's right for you in that moment. Yeah, that's what I would share.
That's good. So for me, I would tell my younger self to love yourself. I didn't really love myself at the time when we met. When you go through some of the things that I've gone through, you don't really know your worth. Um, on the outside, the confidence was there, but on the inside, I felt unworthy. I felt like I needed somebody to love me, but I didn't love myself. And so I would tell my younger self, learn who you are, love yourself, connect with God. God is love. And that's the most profound thing that I've experienced is the love of God. And once I connected with Him and I realized who I was and whose I was, that's when I started loving myself. And that wasn't until I was in my 30s. So to go back now and to my younger self, I would just encourage myself to love yourself, build a relationship with God, and know what you want. Because I think if I had the wisdom that I have now, a lot of the things that has happened in my life wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think we got one more question.
yes. Final question. What moment do you consider a genuine turning point in our relationship? And how did it fundamentally change the course of our journey together?
Wow, we got a couple of those. But I'm only going to talk about one. I think it was, for me, it was when your mother got sick. That was a tough time. For someone who had been a part of our lives for, oh my goodness, years and years and years. You know, mom was always there. And when she got sick, you being the only child, and I'm the daughter-in-law, you know, she didn't want you to see her in that space. So, of course, I needed to step in. And I remember there were times where we didn't get no sleep. It was like I was working from her house, and she wouldn't let me sleep at night. It was really exhausting. And I remember being so exhausted and crying and like, God, I can't do this no more. And just when we think we don't have enough strength is when God steps in and He shows us that we have more strength in Him. And I remember that we brought her to our house, and her changing, meaning went from legs swelled, the body just going downhill, to once she came into a different atmosphere, our home that was full of love, and you know, you could tell that God was in it. She shifted, and the doctors were like, what happened? She was up walking around, she was doing all those things, but I think that the connection deepened us to say, hey, when she saw us, she felt like this is charging me up. This is giving me energy. And I think being there for her until she passed on just was like, it was like God telling me I need to be selfless, to be there for her. And I think that changed our dynamics of our relationship, because you saw me taking care of your mom. And it was like, you didn't have to do this, but she did it. And I think even seeing you, you know, with your mom being all you had for so long, losing her just brought me closer to say he no longer has his mom, so I need to be there for him. How did it change the course of our journey together? I believe after that happened, we just got closer. It was like, I think it went back to, I don't know if you remember when we were in Virginia and it was just me and you. It was like, we all we got. So we got to roll those sleeves up, and, you know, it just was, the turning point for me was just us really just leaning on to each other, knowing that no matter what, we will be there for each other.
Turning point for me was, there was a couple, but I believe the main one was me realizing that I was the issue. Sometimes we think we have it together, we have the answers, and we're orchestrating things correctly, and we have in our minds how things should be and how things should go. But we kept coming to the same point in our relationship every year. I had to ask myself, why do we keep coming back to this? And what is this all about? So I had to pray and ask God, show me myself in this relationship. Show me my part in coming back to this moment every year. And I prayed. I focused on me. And God showed me myself. And he showed me how you saw me. As how it related to you. And it didn't look good. And I was really shocked to see what he showed me. Because I thought I had it all together. And that's what happens. We get to a point in life, things happen, and we create this outer shell. And we don't allow other things in.
Right.
And we create a life for ourselves. And when somebody else comes into it, we expect it to work for them as well. That's not always true. That's what works for me. That was my wall. That was my protection. But you saw it differently. You were trying to get in, but I already had things set the way I wanted it. So I wasn't allowing you to feel relevant in the relationship. So when God showed me myself very vividly, it actually broke me down, and I said it was a God moment because I know you had your prayer wall. You have been watching the movie
War Room.
You had my picture and your prayers on the wall, and I went upstairs while God was revealing to me. And, I prayed after he showed me myself and apologized to him. And I said, now it's time to apologize to you. And we were living in a tri-level home. And I came downstairs and you came out of your office at the same time. And we met in the middle of the kitchen floor.
I remember.
And I just looked at you and I said, I'm sorry. And it was like you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And you just smiled and you said, you finally got it. And I was like, yeah, I had to get it because God showed it to me.
Yeah.
And so that point just let me know that sometimes we get in our own way.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have our own ways that don't work in every aspect of life.
Right.
So those ways protected me when I was by myself and going through certain things. But now I allow someone else into my world. We have to make changes.
Yeah.
We have to allow someone else in. We have to include that person that we say we want to be with. So
Yeah.
God showed me a different way. And here we are today.
Wow. It's amazing looking back and seeing how much we've grown, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And that's really what this podcast is about, the journey.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers, but we have plenty of experience to share.
We hope that this little icebreaker gives you a little sense of who we are and the evolution of our 30 years together. Let me tell you, it's not everything. We ain't sharing all our business, but we've been through a lot. And in future episodes, we're going to dive in a little deeper on specific topics.
Yes, and speaking of journeys, we have an important question for you. What questions in your relationships have gone unanswered? Are there conversations you've been avoiding or topics you wish to hear on this podcast to discuss with us more openly so you can discuss with your partner?
These unanswered questions often hold the key to deeper connections. We love to hear from you about what topics you'd like us to cover for future episodes.
You can reach us at A&O Connect at gmail.com. You can find us on social media.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, A&O Connect, and share with others who might benefit from these conversations. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our next episode.
Until then, thank you for tuning in to A&O Connect.
Remember,
we're better together. We'll connect with you soon.